Look, I need to get this off my chest because I'm still processing what happened last week, and honestly, I'm not sure if I'm handling this right or if I've completely lost my mind. Maybe you guys can help me figure this out. I'm Julian, 19, and I've been dealing with my dad, Derek, and stepmom, Colleen, for the past 6 years since they got married. My mom died when I was 12, and Derek remarried pretty quickly. Colleen brought her son, Braden, into the picture, who's now 17 and basically the golden child who can do no wrong. Here's the thing about my family dynamic that you need to understand. My dad has always been the type who wants to keep the peace at any cost. When Colleen moved in, she made it clear that her son needed to feel like he belonged, which apparently meant I needed to share everything. Room, toys, later my car, and eventually my college fund that my mom had started for me before she died. The fund had about $29,500 in it. Not a fortune, but enough to cover most of my tuition at the community college I planned to attend. My dad had been adding to it over the years, and I'd been working part-time jobs since I was 16 to contribute what I could. Every birthday, every Christmas, instead of asking for video games or clothes, I'd ask family members to contribute to the fund. It was my future, you know? Last Thursday was my 19th birthday. Nothing fancy planned, just dinner at home with the family. I was actually in a good mood because I'd just gotten accepted to start classes in the spring semester, and I was going to finally use that fund to pay for everything. We're sitting around the dinner table, and I'm telling everyone about my acceptance letter and my plans for next year. Braden is picking at his food and looking sulky, which isn't unusual. Derek is nodding along, asking the right questions about my major and class schedule. Everything seems normal. Then Colleen gets this weird look on her face and pulls out her phone. She starts typing something, and I can see her thumbs moving fast. At first, I thought maybe she was texting someone about my news, maybe her parents or something. But then she looks up at me with this expression I'd never seen before. Not angry, not sad, just cold. My phone buzzes. Text from Colleen, even though she's sitting right across from me. I look at her confused, and she just nods toward my phone like I should read it. The message said, "We emptied your college fund. All $29,500. Braden needs it more than you. Stop being selfish, you ungrateful brat." I read it twice before it actually registered. I looked up at her, then at Derek, then back at the phone. Derek was still eating his potatoes like nothing had happened. Braden was suddenly very interested in his dinner and wouldn't make eye contact. I asked Colleen if she was serious, if this was some kind of sick joke. She told me it wasn't a joke at all. Braden had been struggling in school, and she'd found this private tutoring program that cost exactly $29,000. She said he needed the help more than I needed college because he was younger and had more potential. The way she said more potential while looking directly at me, guys. Like I was some kind of lost cause who didn't deserve an education. I turned to Derek, waiting for him to say something, to stand up for me, to tell his wife she was completely out of line. Instead, he put down his fork and told me we needed to have a family discussion about this. He said Braden was having a hard time adjusting to high school, and that family means sacrificing for each other. Then Derek's phone rang. He answered it right there at the table, had about a 2-minute conversation with someone about work, hung up, and looked at me like nothing had happened, like we hadn't just been talking about them stealing my college money. I asked him if he was serious about this, if he actually supported what Colleen had done. He said that Braden was struggling and needed the support more than I did right now. He said I was young and could always take out loans or work for a few years to save up again. He said that's what family does for each other. I pointed out that my mother had started that fund for me specifically, and that I'd been contributing to it for years. Derek got this look on his face that I'd seen before, the one where he's about to shut down any conversation that might upset Colleen. He told me that the money had been sitting in an account under his name anyway, so legally it was his decision to make. Colleen jumped back in and said I should be grateful they'd raised me all these years without asking for rent or compensation. She said most parents would have kicked me out at 18, and that I owed them for everything they'd done for me since my mom died. The conversation went on for another 20 minutes with them tag-teaming me about family obligations and sacrifices. Braden sat there the entire time, not saying a word, but I could tell he wasn't surprised by any of this. This had been planned. I finally asked them what exactly this tutoring program was that cost $29,000. Colleen got defensive and said it was a comprehensive academic support system that would help Braden get into a good college. When I pressed for details, she said I didn't need to know the specifics because it wasn't my money anymore. Derek told me I needed to accept their decision and stop being difficult about it. He said they'd made the choice that was best for the family as a whole, and that I needed to respect that. Here's what really got to me, though. After dinner, I went to my room and just sat there trying to process everything. About an hour later, I heard Braden and Colleen talking in the hallway. She was telling him about some car she'd found online that he might like, and they were discussing whether they should go look at it this weekend. A car. They didn't steal my college fund for tutoring. They stole it so Braden could have a car? I confronted them about it the next morning, and Colleen didn't even try to deny it. She said Braden needed reliable transportation, and that the tutoring story was just easier to explain. She said I wouldn't understand because I'd never had to worry about providing for a family. When I pointed out that I'd been working and saving for my own future, she told me that my attitude was exactly why they'd made the right decision. She said I was selfish and ungrateful, and that I'd proven I didn't deserve the money anyway. Derek backed her up completely, said that Braden needed the car more than I needed college right now, and that I could figure out my own transportation and education like most adults do. So here I am, a week later watching Braden drive around in a brand new Honda Civic that my mom's money paid for, while I'm trying to figure out how to afford community college without the fund I'd been counting on for years. But here's the thing that's eating at me. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. They'd been planning this for months, maybe longer. Colleen had already researched cars and found the one she wanted Braden to have. They'd already moved the money out of the account. They'd already decided that my future didn't matter as much as Braden's immediate wants. The birthday dinner was just their way of telling me it was already done. Part of me wants to just accept it and move on. Find another way to pay for school. But another part of me is absolutely furious that they think they can just take what's mine and expect me to be grateful about it. I've been staying at my friend's place for the past few days because I can't even look at them right now. Derek keeps calling and texting, saying I'm being dramatic and that I need to come home so we can talk about this like adults. But what's there to talk about? They stole my money, lied about why they were taking it, and now they want me to come home and pretend everything is normal. I don't know what to do next, but I do know one thing. They picked the wrong person to mess with, and they're about to find out exactly what kind of mistake they just made. Update 1. I thought the college fund theft was bad. What happened yesterday makes that look like child's play. First off, thank you to everyone who commented on my last post. Reading your responses made me realize I wasn't crazy for being as angry as I was. Some of you asked for updates, and boy do I have one for you. So I'd been staying at my friend Edward's place for about a week, trying to figure out my next move. Derek kept calling and texting, alternating between demanding I come home and trying to guilt me about abandoning the family. Colleen sent a few messages too, mostly about how disappointed she was in my reaction and how I was proving their point about my character. I ignored most of it, but Derek finally showed up at Edward's apartment Wednesday morning. Edward was at work, so it was just me when Derek started pounding on the door, shouting about how we needed to talk face-to-face like men. I opened the door because, honestly, I was ready to have it out with him. Derek looked terrible, unshaven, wrinkled clothes, like he hadn't been sleeping. He pushed past me into the apartment and immediately started in about how I was tearing the family apart. He told me that Colleen had been crying every night since I left, that Braden was asking where I was, and that my behavior was affecting everyone. He said I was being immature, and that real adults work through problems instead of running away. I let him talk for about 10 minutes before I interrupted and asked him point blank if he thought what they did was wrong. Derek got defensive and said that making tough decisions for the family is what parents do. He said that Braden needed the car for school and work opportunities, and that I could always find other ways to pay for college. Then Derek said something that really got to me. He told me that my mom would have wanted me to support my stepbrother, that she would have understood the decision to reallocate the fund for the greater good of the family. He said that my mom always put family first, and that I was dishonoring her memory by being selfish. That's when I lost it. I told Derek that my mom started that fund specifically for my education, that every penny she put in there was meant for me, and that using her memory to justify stealing from me was the lowest thing he'd ever done. Derek's whole demeanor changed. He got this cold look and told me that legally, the money was in his name, and that I had no claim to it whatsoever. He said that if I wanted to be treated like an adult, I needed to start acting like one instead of throwing tantrums about money that was never really mine. We went back and forth for another hour. Derek kept insisting that they'd made the right decision for the family, and I kept pointing out that I am family too. But apparently my future doesn't matter as much as Braden's immediate wants. Finally, Derek played what he thought was his trump card. He told me that if I came home and apologized to Colleen for my behavior, they would consider helping me with college expenses in the future, maybe a loan, or helping me apply for financial aid. He said that family members support each other, but only when everyone is acting like family. I asked him what exactly I needed to apologize for. Derek said I needed to apologize for being ungrateful, for making Colleen feel like the bad guy, and for abandoning the family when they needed me to be mature about a difficult situation. The manipulation was so obvious it was almost funny. Come home, apologize for being upset about them stealing from me, and maybe they'd consider helping me later if I was a good boy about it. I told Derek no. Not just no to coming home, but no to the whole dynamic where my feelings and future don't matter, as long as everyone else is comfortable. I told him that if he wanted to choose Colleen and Braden over me, that was his choice, but I wasn't going to pretend to be grateful about it. Derek got angry then, really angry. He told me that I was just like my mother, stubborn and selfish and unable to see the bigger picture. He said my mom never understood that marriage requires compromise, and that's why their relationship had problems before she died. Guys, I had no idea what he was talking about. My parents always seemed happy together before my mom got sick. But Derek kept going, telling me about arguments they had about money and family priorities that I was too young to remember or understand. According to Derek, my mom was always putting money aside for my future instead of investing in their present needs. She refused to touch my college fund even when they had financial difficulties, and she made Derek promise to never use that money for anything else. Derek said that promise was made under different circumstances, and that my mom would understand his decision if she could see the current situation. This felt like Derek trying to rewrite history to make himself feel better about what he'd done. I told him that my mom made him promise for a reason, and that he'd broken that promise along with my trust. Derek said that my trust was something I'd have to earn back by showing maturity and family loyalty. He said that Colleen had been nothing but good to me for 6 years, and that my refusal to accept their decision was hurting her deeply. At this point, I was done with the conversation. I told Derek that I wasn't coming home, I wasn't apologizing, and I wasn't going to pretend that what they did was okay just to make everyone comfortable. Derek started threatening me then. He said that if I wanted to act like I wasn't part of the family, he could make that official. He could stop claiming me as a dependent, stop paying for my phone plan, stop helping with car insurance. He said that if I wanted to be independent so badly, I could figure out how to be completely independent. I told him that was fine with me. Better to be independent than to be part of a family that would steal from me and then demand gratitude for it. Derek left after that, but not before telling me that I had until Sunday to come home and apologize, or he was going to start making changes to cut me off financially. Here's the thing, though. While Derek was busy threatening me and rewriting history, I'd been making some phone calls. My mom had a brother, my Uncle Julian, who I haven't seen much since the funeral. I found his number and called him Tuesday night to ask some questions about the college fund. Turns out my mom didn't just start that fund. She left specific instructions about it in her will, including that the money was to be used solely for my education and that Derek was acting as trustee, not owner. Uncle Julian helped my mom set it up that way specifically to protect the money from exactly this kind of situation. Uncle Julian was horrified when I told him what Derek and Colleen had done. He said that what they did wasn't just morally wrong, it was legally questionable, since Derek was supposed to be acting as trustee for my benefit, not treating the money as his own asset. My uncle offered to help me contact a lawyer to explore my options. He said that even if Derek's name was on the account, the will's instructions about the money's purpose might give me legal standing to recover it. But here's where it gets really interesting. Uncle Julian also told me something about my mom's life insurance policy that I never knew about. Apparently, there was a separate, smaller policy that was supposed to pay out to me directly when I turned 18. But Derek never mentioned it. Uncle Julian has been wondering why I never contacted the insurance company about it. So not only did Derek steal my college fund, he's apparently been hiding an insurance payout that's rightfully mine. We're talking about another $15,000 that I should have had access to a year ago. I haven't confronted Derek about the insurance money yet. Uncle Julian thinks I should get legal advice first about both issues. He's connected me with a family lawyer who specializes in estate and trust issues, and I have an appointment Friday morning. Meanwhile, Derek's Sunday deadline is coming up fast. He's been texting me daily about coming home and apologizing, getting more aggressive each time. Yesterday, he sent a message saying that Colleen is heartbroken about our family falling apart, and that Braden keeps asking if he did something wrong. The manipulation is obvious, but what really gets me is that Derek genuinely seems to believe he's the victim here. Like I'm the unreasonable one for being upset about them stealing my money and lying about it. Edward's been incredible through all of this. He's let me stay as long as I need, and he's been helping me research my legal options. His mom actually works in estate planning, and she confirmed that Derek's position as trustee definitely creates legal obligations that he might have violated. I'm nervous about the lawyer meeting, but also excited. For the first time since this started, I feel like I might have some real options instead of just having to accept what Derek and Colleen decided to do to me. Derek thinks he holds all the cards because he's the adult and I'm just the kid, but my mom was smarter than he gave her credit for, and she set things up to protect me even after she was gone. Sunday's coming fast, and Derek's expecting me to come crawling back with an apology. Instead, I think he's about to find out that stealing from your dead wife's son has consequences he never considered. I'll update you guys after the lawyer meeting. This is far from over. Part 3 coming soon. The lawyer meeting changes everything. Update 2. You guys, I can't even begin to describe how vindicated I feel right now. The lawyer meeting on Friday completely changed everything. And Derek's little Sunday deadline just became the least of his worries. So I met with Sophia Martinez, the family law attorney my Uncle Julian connected me with. She spent 2 hours going through everything with me. And let me tell you, Derek and Colleen are in way more trouble than they realize. First, about the college fund. Sophia explained that when my mom set up the account with Derek as trustee, she created what's called a fiduciary duty. Derek wasn't just managing money that happened to be in his name. He was legally obligated to use that money solely for my benefit as specified in my mom's will. Taking it for Braden's car wasn't just morally wrong, it was a breach of fiduciary duty, which is a serious legal issue. But here's the kicker. The life insurance money that Derek never told me about. That wasn't held in trust at all. That money was supposed to be paid directly to me when I turned 18. And Derek had no legal right to intercept it or hide it from me. Sophia said that's potentially insurance fraud and definitely theft. Sophia asked me to bring any documentation I had about the college fund, so I drove to the house Saturday morning to get my mom's papers from my room. I figured Derek and Colleen would be out, but Derek's car was in the driveway. I almost left, but then I realized I had every right to get my own belongings. Colleen answered the door, and the look on her face when she saw me was priceless. She immediately started talking about how glad she was that I'd come to my senses, how Derek would be so relieved, and how we could finally put this whole misunderstanding behind us. I told her I was just there to get some papers from my room. Colleen's expression changed immediately. She said that Derek wasn't home and that I should wait for him if I wanted to go through the house. I reminded her that it was my room and my belongings, and that I didn't need permission. Colleen blocked the doorway and told me that my attitude was exactly why they'd made the right decision about the money. She said that coming to take things instead of coming to apologize proved that I was selfish and ungrateful. Then she said something that really showed her true colors. She told me that my mom would be ashamed of the person I'd become. I pushed past her into the house and headed for my room. Colleen followed me, continuing to lecture about family loyalty and how disappointed everyone was in my behavior. She kept emphasizing how much they had sacrificed for me over the years, how they had provided for me when they didn't have to. That's when Braden appeared. He looked uncomfortable, like he didn't want to be part of the conversation. Colleen immediately started talking to him about how I was there to take more things instead of apologizing for hurting the family. Braden surprised me by asking his mom to stop. He told her that the whole situation was uncomfortable and that maybe they should just let me get what I needed. Colleen turned on him immediately, asking whose side he was on and whether he was going to be ungrateful too. For the first time, I actually felt bad for Braden. Watching Colleen manipulate him the same way she'd been trying to manipulate me made me realize that he was as much a victim of her games as I was. The kid didn't ask for his mom to steal my college fund to buy him a car. I found my mom's papers and also grabbed some other personal items. As I was leaving, Colleen made one last attempt at manipulation. She told me that Derek was heartbroken about our fight, that he'd been losing sleep and barely eating. She said that all I had to do was come home and apologize, and everything could go back to normal. I told Colleen that things were never going back to normal and that Derek's sleep problems were about to get much worse. The look on her face when I said that told me she knew exactly what I meant. Derek started blowing up my phone Saturday evening. Apparently, Colleen told him about my visit and my comment about his problems getting worse. Derek left several voicemails demanding to know what I meant by that, insisting that I had no legal standing to challenge anything they'd done. But here's where Derek's arrogance really showed. Instead of trying to work things out, he doubled down on his threats. Sunday morning, Derek sent me a long text message explaining all the ways he was going to cut me off financially. Phone plan canceled, car insurance dropped, health insurance removed, tax dependency status changed. He said that if I wanted to act like an adult, I could handle all my own expenses. Derek actually thought he was punishing me. What he was really doing was making it easier for me to become completely independent, which is exactly what I need for the legal case Sophia is building. Monday morning, I met with Sophia again and brought all of my mom's documentation. Sophia was even more confident after reviewing everything. She said we have a strong case for recovering both the college fund money and the insurance payout, plus potentially additional damages for Derek's breach of fiduciary duty. But Sophia also warned me that this was going to get ugly. Family legal disputes usually do, and Derek and Colleen are likely to escalate their behavior when they realize they're in serious legal trouble. She recommended that I avoid contact with them until we file the formal complaint. The really satisfying part is that Derek has no idea how much trouble he's actually in. He thinks this is just about a family argument over money. He doesn't realize that what he did has legal consequences that could affect him for years. Sophia's plan is to send Derek a formal demand letter this week, requiring him to return both the college fund money and the insurance payout within 30 days. If he refuses or ignores it, we file a lawsuit. Sophia thinks Derek will try to negotiate once he realizes how serious this is, but she's prepared to take it all the way to court if necessary. I also found out something interesting from the insurance company. When I called them directly about the policy payout, they told me that Derek contacted them last year claiming I was unreachable and requesting that the money be held until I could be located. That's how he intercepted the $15,000 that should have been paid directly to me. The insurance representative was horrified when I explained that I'd been living in the same house the entire time and that Derek never mentioned the payout to me. She said they would investigate Derek's false claim and that this could affect any other policies he has with them. So while Derek thinks he's punishing me by cutting off my phone plan, he's actually looking at potential insurance fraud charges and a lawsuit that could cost him way more than the money he stole from me. Uncle Julian has been amazing through all of this. He's offered to help with any expenses while the legal case moves forward. And he's furious about what Derek did to my mom's wishes. He told me that my mom specifically talked to him about protecting that college fund from exactly this kind of situation. Edward's been incredible too. His mom connected me with someone who can help me get my own phone plan and insurance, so Derek's threats don't actually hurt me much. If anything, being completely independent makes it easier to pursue the legal case without Derek having any leverage over me. The best part is that Derek still doesn't know about the insurance money issue. Sophia advised me not to mention it until we file the formal complaint. Derek's going to think this is just about the college fund, and then he's going to find out that he's also facing potential fraud charges for intercepting insurance money that belonged to me. Derek's deadline for me to come home and apologize was yesterday. Instead of an apology, he's going to get a demand letter from a lawyer. I can't wait to see his reaction when he realizes that his little power play just became a legal nightmare. Colleen's been sending me messages about how I'm destroying the family and how Derek is suffering because of my selfishness. What she doesn't understand is that they destroyed the family when they decided to steal from me and then demand gratitude for it. Sophia warned me that they might try to escalate their emotional manipulation once they get the demand letter. Colleen might show up crying about how I'm ruining their lives, or Derek might try to turn other family members against me. But I'm prepared for all of that now. The legal system is going to handle this situation properly. And Derek and Colleen are going to face real consequences for what they did. Not because I'm out for revenge, but because what they did was wrong and illegal, and there are systems in place to address that kind of behavior. I'll update you guys when Derek gets the demand letter. Something tells me his reaction is going to be worth sharing. Final update coming soon. Derek learns what consequences actually look like. Final update. Derek got the demand letter. The meltdown was spectacular, but the ending is even better. You guys, I can't believe how this all played out. When I started posting about the college fund theft 3 weeks ago, I never imagined it would end like this. But here we are, and justice actually got served. Sophia sent the formal demand letter to Derek on Wednesday morning via certified mail. By Thursday afternoon, Derek was calling me nonstop. I let it go to voicemail because Sophia had advised me not to engage directly while the legal process was active. The voicemails started normal. Well, normal for Derek. He was demanding to know what I thought I was doing, insisting that I had no legal standing, and threatening to fight any legal action I tried to take. But as the day went on, the messages got more frantic. By Thursday evening, Derek had clearly talked to a lawyer of his own, because his tone completely changed. Suddenly, he wanted to discuss things reasonably, work out a family solution, avoid getting lawyers involved unnecessarily. The panic in his voice was obvious. Friday morning, Colleen showed up at Edward's apartment. Edward was at work, so it was just me when she started pounding on the door, crying about how I was destroying the family and ruining their lives. I opened the door but didn't let her in. Colleen looked terrible, mascara running, hair a mess, like she hadn't slept in days. She immediately launched into this dramatic speech about how Derek was having chest pains from stress, how Braden was crying because he thought it was his fault, and how I was tearing apart everything my mother had built. I told Colleen that my mother had built a college fund for my education, and that they had destroyed that when they stole the money for Braden's car. Colleen got defensive and said they hadn't stolen anything, that Derek had every right to make financial decisions for the family. Then Colleen tried a different approach. She said that if I dropped the legal action, they would pay me back over time, maybe $50 a month until the college fund was repaid. She said that would be more reasonable than destroying the family over money. I asked Colleen about the insurance money that Derek had hidden from me. The look on her face told me everything. She had no idea about that part. Derek hadn't told her that he'd intercepted $15,000 that was supposed to be paid directly to me. Colleen started asking what insurance money, what was I talking about? Derek never mentioned any insurance. I explained about the life insurance policy that was supposed to pay out when I turned 18, and how Derek had contacted the insurance company claiming I was unreachable so he could intercept the money. The color drained from Colleen's face. She realized that Derek hadn't just made a questionable decision about the college fund. He had actively lied to an insurance company to steal money that legally belonged to me. That's fraud, and she knew it. Colleen tried to backtrack, saying that Derek must have had a good reason, that there was probably a misunderstanding. But I could see that she was finally understanding how serious this actually was. I told Colleen that I wasn't interested in payment plans or family meetings. They had 30 days to return both the college fund money and the insurance payout, or Sophia would file a lawsuit. If Derek had spent the money and couldn't return it, that was his problem to solve. Colleen left crying, but not before telling me that I was destroying Derek's health and ruining Braden's future. She said that my mother would be ashamed of me for putting money before family. That comment really got to me, not because it hurt, but because it showed how completely Colleen misunderstood what this was about. This wasn't about putting money before family. This was about holding family accountable when they betray your trust and steal from you. Saturday, Derek himself showed up. He looked awful, unshaven, exhausted, like he'd aged 10 years in the past week. But instead of the angry, threatening Derek I was expecting, he was trying to be conciliatory. Derek started by saying that he'd talked to a lawyer and understood that the situation was more complicated than he'd realized. He said that maybe they'd been hasty in their decision about the college fund, and that he wanted to work something out that would be fair to everyone. I told Derek that the fair thing would have been not stealing my money in the first place. Derek got defensive and said they hadn't stolen anything, that they'd made a family decision about reallocating resources during a difficult time. Then I brought up the insurance money. Derek's whole demeanor changed. He started stammering about how the insurance company had been difficult to work with and how he'd been trying to protect the money until I was ready to handle it responsibly. I asked Derek why he thought I wouldn't be ready to handle my own inheritance money responsibly, but he couldn't give me a straight answer. Finally, he admitted that he'd used some of the insurance money to help with household expenses, and that he'd planned to pay it back before I found out about it. So not only had Derek stolen my college fund, he'd also stolen and spent money from my mother's life insurance policy. The betrayal just kept getting deeper. Derek tried to negotiate then. He offered to return the college fund money immediately if I would agree to let him pay back the insurance money over time. He said that demanding everything at once would create serious financial hardship for the family. I told Derek that he should have thought about financial hardship before he decided to steal from me twice. I also pointed out that his financial problems weren't my responsibility to solve. Derek got angry then and reverted to his old tactics. He said that I was being vindictive and selfish, that I was prioritizing money over family relationships, and that my mother had raised me better than this. I told Derek that my mother had also left specific instructions about the college fund money, and that he'd broken his promise to her along with his legal obligations to me. I said that if he wanted to talk about what my mother would think, she'd probably be horrified that he'd stolen from her son, and then tried to manipulate him into accepting it. Derek left after that, but not before warning me that legal action would be expensive and time-consuming, and that I might not win even if I was right. He said that family disputes rarely turn out the way people expect, and that I should consider whether this was really worth destroying our relationship over. I told Derek that he had destroyed our relationship when he decided to steal from me. The legal action was just about getting back what was rightfully mine. Monday morning, Sophia got a call from Derek's lawyer requesting a meeting to discuss settlement terms. Apparently, Derek's attorney had explained to him exactly how much trouble he was in, and Derek realized that fighting this in court would be both expensive and likely unsuccessful. The settlement negotiation took 2 days, but Derek eventually agreed to return the full amount of both the college fund and the insurance money, plus interest and my legal fees. The total came to just over $48,000. Derek also had to sign an agreement acknowledging that he had breached his fiduciary duty regarding the college fund and that he had improperly intercepted insurance money that belonged to me. This protects me if he ever tries to claim later that the money was a gift or loan. The money was transferred to my account Friday morning. After 3 weeks of legal stress and family drama, I finally have back what was rightfully mine all along, plus enough extra to cover the legal costs and lost interest. But the best part is that Derek and Colleen are facing real consequences for their actions. Derek had to take out a loan against their house to come up with the settlement money, because he'd already spent most of what he stole from me. Their credit is damaged, their finances are strained, and Derek is facing a potential insurance fraud investigation. Colleen has been sending me messages about how I've ruined their family financially and destroyed Derek's health with stress. She keeps insisting that we could have worked things out without lawyers if I'd just been willing to be reasonable. What Colleen doesn't understand is that reasonable people don't steal from grieving children and then demand gratitude for it. Reasonable people don't intercept insurance payments and lie about it for over a year. Derek and Colleen created this situation with their own choices, and now they're dealing with the natural consequences. Braden actually reached out to me directly last week. He apologized for the role the car purchase played in all of this, and said that he'd tried to convince his mom to return my money voluntarily before the lawyers got involved. He seems to understand that what his mom and Derek did was wrong, even if he benefited from it. I told Braden that none of this was his fault, and that I didn't blame him for his mom's decisions. He's 17 and didn't ask for his mom to steal money to buy him a car. If anything, Colleen put him in an awful position by making him complicit in something he didn't choose. Derek and I haven't spoken since the settlement was finalized. Uncle Julian thinks Derek is too ashamed and angry to reach out. And honestly, I'm fine with that. Derek had multiple opportunities to do the right thing, and he chose manipulation and threats instead. Some relationships can't be repaired after that level of betrayal. I'm starting college in January with my education fully funded and no debt. I'm living independently, handling my own finances, and building my own life without anyone who thinks stealing from me is acceptable family behavior. The money was never really about the money, you know? It was about respect and trust, and being treated like my feelings and future mattered. Derek and Colleen failed that test completely, and they're dealing with the consequences of their choices. Sometimes standing up for yourself means accepting that some people will never treat you the way you deserve to be treated. But it also means protecting yourself from those people and building a life with people who actually care about your well-being. Thanks to everyone who supported me through this process. Your comments helped me realize that I wasn't crazy for being angry about what they did, and that I deserved better than being manipulated into accepting their betrayal. Derek thought he could steal from me and intimidate me into accepting it. Instead, he learned that actions have consequences, and that some people won't be manipulated no matter how much pressure you apply. I'm doing great. My education is secure, and I'm surrounded by people who actually support me instead of trying to exploit me. Sometimes justice actually works the way it's supposed to.